Hello, my friend. Welcome back. How's last time's tale? I've talked mostly about good people, or redemption stories, but today I'm talking about someone who's much more ruthless and cunning, and a wizard to boot. Joining me today is my friend and returning guest, Uncle Ulric. Saruman's physical form resembled an elderly man in white garments. Sometimes he is depicted as holding a white staff, or other times, a staff of many colors. In his non-physical form, he resembles a much younger man. Saruman's real name is Karumo, and he is a Maiar, or a lesser spirit. And he was under the service of the Valar, Aule the Smith, after the War of the Last Alliance. The Dark Lord Sauron was defeated, but he was not completely vanquished. To combat this, the Valar sent 5 emissaries to assist the Free Peoples of Middle-earth against the rising threat of Sauron. These emissaries were known as the Astari. These included Gandalf the Grey, Radagast the Brown, Alatar and Palanda the Blue Wizards, and Karumo, now known as Saruman, was appointed leader of the Astari. The wizards arrived in Middle-earth in the year 1000 of the Third Age, where they came into contact with Círdan the Shipwright. Despite being the leader of the Astari, Círdan gave his ring, Narya, to Gandalf instead of Saruman, because he believed Gandalf to be the wisest and most powerful wizard. This kicked off Saruman's jealousy towards the Grey Wizard. After venturing to the east, alongside the Blue Wizards for a millennia and a half, he returned to the west, where he, Gandalf, Galadriel, Glorfindel, Elrond, and many others formed the White Council, a group dedicated to fighting and containing Sauron's growing power. He eventually moved into a fortress known as Isengard, and found a Palantir, or a Seeing Stone. Sauron re-emerged in Dol Guldur, but was thwarted by the White Council. However, 10 years later, Sauron made contact with Saruman via the Palantir. Gandalf went to see Saruman to tell him of where the One Ring, a powerful artifact, was located and who was carrying it. Saruman desired the ring for himself and told Gandalf that he had been working with the Dark Lord and tried to convert Gandalf to his cause. Gandalf, being himself, refused. Gandalf was held prisoner in Isengard, but was able to escape with a little help from his giant eagle friend Gwahir. Saruman began to create Uruk-hai, a species of orc primarily made in Isengard.
Whom do you serve? Saruman.
He sent the Uruk-hai on raids to attempt to find the One Ring. He knew that a hobbit was carrying the ring, and he sent his Uruks after the Fellowship of the Ring. The Uruk-hai captured the 2 hobbits, Merry and Pippin, and killed Boromir, who gave his life defending them. However, unbeknownst to the Uruk-hai or Saruman, neither Merry or Pippin was the ring-bearer. The 2 hobbits eventually escaped, and the Ents, a race of tree people, attacked Isengard, destroying it. Saruman took shelter for a while, until Gandalf, now Gandalf the White, Aragorn, Theoden, and what remained of the Fellowship confronted him at Orthanc, the tower where he resided. Gandalf wanted to give Saruman a chance to redeem himself by making him give up his staff. He contemplated doing this, but let his pride and anger get the better of him, and he refused redemption. Gandalf destroyed his staff, as a sign that he was no longer one of the Astari. He was able to escape Isengard by persuading Treebeard, the leader of the Ents, to let him go. Saruman eventually made his way to the Shire, where he assembled a group of thugs, and became a criminal, taking up the name Sharky. However, his thugs were defeated by the combined mind of the hobbits. Frodo Baggins, the ring-bearer, took mercy upon Saruman, and told him to leave the Shire forever. Grima Wormtongue, one of Saruman's servants, now tired of his abuse, slit Saruman's throat. Because he is a Maya, he only died in the physical world, and instead of going on to the halls of Mandos, or the afterlife, his spirit was left weak and powerless, forever wandering and never returning to Middle-earth.
Saruman's main motivation for his actions was the procurement of power. The more power he gained, the better. Ever since he was denied the Ring of Narya, he began to become jealous of Gandalf, and over time this jealousy became an obsession. He began to visit the Shire occasionally, because Gandalf would do so, and he began to smoke pipeweed, just like Gandalf. He felt lesser compared to Gandalf, and was very concerned that Gandalf would take his position as chief of the wizards, which Gandalf would eventually do. He did not truly wish to serve Sauron. Rather, he was completely out for himself, wishing to take the One Ring. destroy and take Sauron's mantle as Dark Lord, and rule Middle-earth by himself. He may have once been a force of good, but his lust for power proved to be his undoing. Saruman was once head of the Istari for a reason. Gandalf himself praised Saruman for his cunning, wit, and skill. Saruman literally means man of skill, and this certainly shows. He had an extensive network of spies made up of men, Uruk-hai, birds, and many other creatures. He was also able to bolster the morale and fighting abilities of his Uruk-hai using magic. As Euclid stated before, he was a Maiar, which means his true form is immaterial. Therefore, he is both immortal and unkillable. He was able to create great war machines, explosives, and forges, possibly something he learned because he was a Maiar, under the service of Aule the Smith. One of his greatest capabilities was his ability to influence or even dominate the minds of lesser-willed individuals, with nothing else other than his voice. People like those on the White Council could not be influenced by him, however. He was able to convince the Ents and Treebeard to let him go quite easily.
An emissary of the light, who let his ego, greed, and thirst for power lead him to disaster. I wonder what would have happened if he remained good and aided the free peoples of Middle-earth. Thank you for stopping by and listening to the story of Saruman the White. I want to thank the first friend I've had on this series of tales, Uncle Ulric. Have a safe trip back.